Okay, more on the subject of family of origin. In this case, specifically family systems. And in that case, even more specifically, dysfunctional family systems. To get even more specific, enmeshment. Enmeshment seriously sucks. Like, it fucking sucks. And it's interesting that I use that word because I use that both literally and metaphorically. Let me explain. It sucks because it's a fucking nightmare. Like, I don't want to look at it as, the black or white way, like, good or bad, right or wrong. It's not healthy, first and foremost. It sucks in the metaphorical sense, in the way that it sucks you in, right? A family system of enmeshment is exceedingly dysfunctional, and the issue is entangled boundaries, which leads to, like, no fucking individuality, no separation between each person, no privacy. And then what I'm seeing now, that's like what I'm realizing is concerning for any individual that is raised in a family system like this, is you don't get to actualize. And you don't get to reach your highest potential because you're sucked into this dysfunctional system where everyone's boundaries are fucking tangled in with each other. You don't get to really have your own sense of self. Whatever it is that you do, you're made out to feel guilty about it because you represent the entire fucking whole. Like, imagine, like, being a massive blob, and each member of the family is a part of that blob. The tanglement, all of that stuff. That's enmeshment. Your actions or behaviors or words, everyone else sees those as a threat, especially if they are not like everyone else's actions, words, behaviors, all that stuff, because they see you as an extension of themselves. So enmeshment sucks, actually. It's a just fucking, it's an unhealthy experience. And it sucks metaphorically because it sucks you back in. It makes you feel, when a person is raised in an environment of enmeshment in their family system that is dysfunctional, they feel like they have to go back to the system repeatedly in order to make decisions, right? Hey, what do you guys think about this? I'm thinking about doing this. They don't get to have their own sense of inner authority that tells them, I'm going to do what I want to do regardless of what anyone else is telling me or what anyone else thinks about it, right? Man, enmeshment seriously fucking sucks. Like, it's a shit show. And the more I heal and the more I see enmeshment for what it is and the dysfunctional dynamic that it creates in families. Oh, let's talk about trust for a second within enmeshment. There's a reason why a system of enmeshment doesn't trust each other, right? That, and also there's no separation. There's none at all whatsoever. There's no privacy. You are, like, pressured to share the shit, overshare your fucking life, right? And a lot of these things happen with, like, parentification, when a child is confided, I think that's the right way to say it, by a parent and then exposed to age-inappropriate material, which then leads to, like, anxiety and depression. They can't fucking focus on their own self, right? It's this sense of permeability and boundaries that really fucks an individual up, because then it teaches them the permeability. It teaches them to overshare, which teaches them fucking intensity in relationships, which is a very serious thing, because if you look at a system that follows the dynamic of enmeshment, it might seem like people are closely knit, right? That people are very close to each other. But what you'll really come to find is that each person in the system is like limited or restricted from having their own sense of individuality. And the more I see this, the more it actually really concerns me. Because, you know, one of the most important things, I would argue at least, that a single person could do for themselves is to achieve a healthy sense of individuality. Because with that comes things like self-awareness, responsibility, healthy balances within the person. Right? If a person is pressured into sharing something, shit, I remember experiencing this back when I was in middle school. Peer pressure. That fucking bullshit influence that I mistook as safety, right? That pull, that suck of, I know that you're looking for validation, and the only way that you're going to get it is if you give in to my fucking influence. So I'm going to pressure the shit out of you until you give in, because I know that you've got permeable boundaries. Well, at that point, they probably don't even know enough about boundaries to suggest whether they're, permeable or rigid or just vacant altogether. But enmeshment in families leads to poor boundaries. It leads to permeable boundaries, rigid boundaries. You don't know how to say no. Permeable boundaries. Rigid boundaries. You never open up to anyone. Shit, that's fucking terrifying. Enmeshment sucks another way. Well, the same way as I was saying before, in terms of it sucks you back into the dynamic. Because it literally does. You associate, a person who is familiar with enmeshment, they associate permeable boundaries and this whole structure of tangled boundaries as safe. There will be pressure to overshare to feel safe. Not only that, here's another thing. In family systems of enmeshment, drama, gossip are very present. Talking about other people's problems are very present. Here's what I have drawn from that. The reason that people invest themselves so much in other people's shit, which of course is an issue of boundaries, they are probably too uncomfortable to look at their own shit, that they're focusing on other people's shit. Not only that, but let's go a little bit further with this. Projections, right? People that project, what I've learned is that they're not actually aware that they're projecting. And when I say projecting, it's like when you take your shit and you give it to somebody else. It's that simple. But people also project because whatever it is that they're projecting onto other people is way too fucking difficult for them to sit with, because it's uncomfortable. Probably because the emotions are uncomfortable. Emotions of fear, shame, guilt. It's not easy. This might just be a belief of mine too, by the way, based on where I'm at, or where I was, I should say, consciously. It's not easy to sit with feelings of shame or guilt. It's not. It's not. So what do you do with it? Well, you're not going to do anything with yourself, so you're going to give it to somebody else. That's where projection comes into play. So in this dynamic of enmeshment, there is, I'm going to distract myself from my painful and uncomfortable fucking problems and emotions, and I'm going to dive into this drama and gossip over here. Not only that, but I'm also going to take my shit, and instead of actually sitting with it and working through it, I'm going to give it to you. And I'm going to give it to you. And I'm going to give it to you. And if none of you guys are fucking self-aware, know yourself, and have healthy boundaries, you're all going to take it on as your own. You're not going to be able to tell the fucking difference. It's going to confuse the fucking shit out of you. And you're just going to take projections from people because you don't know what they are. You don't know what the defense mechanisms are, right? It's wild. It really is. It's totally wild. Enmeshment sucks. It does. And to heal from enmeshment, just to kind of clarify things, to heal from enmeshment is to set boundaries, right? Oh, by the way, have to mention something very serious about enmeshment. There is a very serious pain that comes with enmeshment. And that pain is the lack of sense of self and actual, maybe, I guess you could say sense of self, but I'll say it this way. In systems of enmeshment, people don't, unless they get out of it, people don't usually get to individuate and differentiate. As a result of that, they don't get to have their own sense of individuality. As a result of that, they don't get to discover themselves. As a result of that, they don't get to self-actualize. And that means that they do not get to do the best that they can for themselves because they usually end up feeling so overly fucking responsible for everyone else around them that they feel like they need to caretake and all that stuff. So the pain really comes from self-sabotage and self-sacrifice. I know that what I want to do is different from what I'm actually choosing to do because what I'm choosing to do is familiar to me and it's coming from this place of conditioning in this family of origin of enmeshment. There's a lot of pain that comes with enmeshment, right? Because if you don't ever get to know yourself, you won't ever get to individuate, differentiate, any of that stuff, self-actualize, do what it is that you actually want to do. If you want to move halfway across the fucking world and experience life over there by yourself, but you've got this family system that sucks you the fuck in with all of this bullshit and unhealthy dynamics, you're going to have a really fucking hard time doing that. Yeah, enmeshment sucks. It's not good or bad or right or wrong, but it's unhealthy.